Yeah, I'm excited to be back in Miami. Obviously, I was born here, spent a lot of my childhood in Miami, grew up in Liberty City for the most part. My entire family's here, so it's like a homecoming for me. Manny's done a phenomenal job with the defense and a phenomenal job with the program. And it's a program that has a rich history, rich tradition, and it's something that like I'm on fire about being here. And a lot of these guys I've recruited because at every school I've been at, I've kind of recruited South Florida. And so I know it's a lot of familiar faces with the kids and with the coaches. So I'm like on fire to be here.
Great. Coach Ish, we're going to go into questions, and we're going to start with Chris Stock from Inside the U. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was curious if you could talk about your philosophies and maybe the keys in developing young linebackers, some importance of that, because obviously there are some young guys on the roster right now.
Yeah, some young guys on the roster. At striker, we got two older guys. And so, we're going to pick back up where we left off last year. Kind of everything we do from a development perspective is really centered around what we want to do schematically. So as we hone in on that this spring, I'll kind of have my development plan based on all the little nuances of what we do within the framework of our scheme. But just day one, I'm going to be fundamental. I want you doing everything from a technical perspective as efficient as possible within the framework of what we're trying to get done. And so, I'll start them off day one drills, and then everything will be scheme specific and how I ask their bodies to move or how I ask them to think. And so developing those young guys is good for me because I'm coming from a place where, I kind of quote unquote worked with the nickels last year when I was at A&M, which is kind of like our strikers. And I had a freshman starting the Orange Bowl that I also signed. I was on the road last year. So I signed the kid, got a chance to coach him, and he started in the Orange Bowl for us as a true freshman. And so I'll say from a developmental perspective, that's something I'm extremely familiar with. And like I said, day one fundamentals, then body movement, efficiency, and then getting them to play within the framework of the scheme. And so at striker, I'm blessed to have two older guys, and then we got a freshman there. But, I think by hook or crook, we're going to find a way to get them to play well.
Coach, we're going to go next to David Lake at 24/7. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Welcome to Miami. Wanted to ask you more. You touched on it a little bit, but just your background and your connection with South Florida. I guess, is it fair to say you grew up a Miami fan? Were you recruited much by Miami at all when you were a prospect up in Orlando? And just what do you think about when you think of the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, growing up in Florida, I'll say no matter where you're at and how you grow up, what environment you were in, everybody was a fan of Miami Hurricanes, right? Like growing up in the 90s or whatever your time was, 80s, 70s, 60s, like everybody was a fan of the Hurricanes. Like I don't care where you were at, what you were doing, everybody was a fan of how they played, the style that they played with, and the swagger and confidence they played with. So yeah, I've always been a Miami Hurricane fan. Kind of my upbringing, like I said, my entire family is from here. In my last, 2 or 3 years of high school, I moved up north with my mom to Evans High School. So actually, Aubrey Hill kind of recruited me a little bit, him and Wesley McGriff. As you fast forward, I didn't end up getting an offer because I tore my ACL my spring of my junior year. But yeah, always have been a Miami fan. I think you got no choice I was born at North Shore Hospital, so I think I came out of the womb with a Miami bib on or something. I bet the doctor who gave me birth was probably a Miami grad.
I follow up too, and just like, what was the connection point with getting the ball rolling with Miami? Getting a job there. Did you have a relationship with Manny Diaz, or how did that all kind of happen?
Yeah, like I said, the last 2 off seasons when I was at A&M, I recruited Miami exclusively. I signed Donnell Harris. That's kind of my first year there. Then the second year, I signed Keith Brown and Amari Daniels out of Miami Central. And so, you don't sign a player from Miami and take them all the way to Texas without somebody asking questions, especially not the one of, Donnell Harris's status. He's a top 50 player in the country and one of the top players in the state. I think Manny's always been aware. Manny is extremely smart. He's very well researched. He's going to look very, very detailed into what's going on in his city, because if I'm him, I'm thinking this is my city. Nobody comes into my city. And he has that mentality and that attitude, which is why I'm happy to work with him. But I think definitely from a recruiting perspective, a defensive perspective, we played pretty well on defense at A&M this past year. Manny's very well aware of that as well. And so I think it was, what do I want the culture of my team to be from a staff perspective, and for who do I want to train my players? And I think, we had some conversations and it was a good fit, but I've always been aware, we've always had a little bit of a personal awareness of each other, just because of, recruiting Miami. Obviously he's aware of who my family is. He's known some of my family members for years. So that we've always had a mutual awareness of each other, I would believe. And then definitely from a defensive perspective, guys I've worked with, guys I've been under, guys I've trained under, he's very, very well aware of all of that. So I think it was just kind of a mutual connection, mutual fit.
Coach, we got a couple more for you. We're going to go to David Ferrones at the Sun Sentinel. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, welcome to Miami. I was going to ask about that reputation as a recruiter, and you just mentioned a few reasons why you have that reputation. But what will be different now for you in now being on the coaching staff and getting to recruit from this position? And also wanted to get an idea of what your recruiting pitch might be for some of these guys now recruiting for Miami.
Yeah, that's a good question. Not much different for me, like I said, because, Miami has been the center point of my recruiting and who I've recruited, and I've always focused on the city. So a lot of the relationships that I had, whether it be, some of the names, I won't even put the names out there, but just guys that I know throughout the city that we all know in the recruiting world, that is not going to change. I think it gives us it's kind of like you take one of the guys that have signed players from Miami and you bring them in-house, and I think that gives Miami a competitive advantage, and it gives me a competitive advantage. And so I'm excited about that. I think, now I'm playing, it's home field advantage now. Before I didn't have that, and there are some things I had to overcome, and now I'm playing with home field advantage. So, I'm excited about that. And I think from a philosophical perspective, nothing really changes. Like, I'm big on relationships. Anybody who knows me will tell you that. Like, this dude is going to spend time getting to know you. Like, and I want you to get to know me, right? And so a lot of the kids that I came in and I looked at the recruiting board and I'm talking recruiting and I'm like, hey guys, I know like 85% of these kids. It's going to be like 85, 90%. And so, when Manny hired me, it was like, well, it's pretty much a shoe-in because you're going to recruit Miami every year and you're going to just jump right in. So whoever our top guys are on our board, like, I know 85% of them. And so I hope that answers your question, but it's not going to be a lot different for me because, like I said, I was in a building with, it was me and James Coley, and we kind of tag team South Florida. I've known James for a long time. He used to work for my father, and we kind of did that together. So now I'm here, and now I'm with a bunch of guys who are South Florida guys, and like I feel like I got more bullets in the gun. If you ask me, like I feel like I always felt like, hey, between me and him, we can be pretty dangerous in South Florida. Now I feel like James better stay away now. Now we got some real, it's going down. You better be careful.
Coach, we got Susan Miller-Degnan from the Miami Herald. Susan, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, welcome.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
So I know that your dad is a principal, right? Wallace at Northwestern. What's that like for you? How exciting is that? I know you're a big academic guy. You did well in college. Just that aspect of it and, what he's going through now.
Yeah, he's excited. He's excited that I'm home. I moved away from Miami as a teenager, and now he's got me back. He's picking up on like, dang, I got you back, but Coach Diaz gonna have you working, man. I can't, he thinks it's, we're not gonna be able to do the whole, father-son routine like we normally do, but I think he's excited. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for our family. I think this is a family thing because we operate that way. Most of my family, we all come from the academia world, and he's thrilled. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back closer to family. So, him being the principal at Miami Northwestern, I don't know, I hadn't signed the kid out of there. We were recruiting Terrence Lewis when he was there. We were recruiting Cam Kitchens. But, I think it kind of increases, the right word would probably be credibility in that, you're a true South Florida guy, because the most important I would say one of the strongest football brands from a high school perspective is probably Miami Northwestern, along with St. Thomas Aquinas and some other schools. And so I feel blessed to be a part of that family as well, because, you know, I grew up literally blocks from Miami Northwestern. So I always felt a part of that family. And I think it's cool now that, you know, my dad's the principal there.
Coach, we got two quick ones for you guys, just because we've got a few of our student athletes to get to. Two quick ones. We'll go to Gabby Urrutia from 24/7. Gabby, go ahead.
Talk to me, Gabby. Talk to me, brother.
Hey, what's up, Coach? I just wanted to ask, I know you're obviously on a staff with just a bunch of recruiters. I just kind of wanted to get just more of an understanding of like your specific role within, you know, the recruiting department. Like, who are you going to be recruiting? And also if you have like an area of Miami that you're going to kind of control or take care of, because I know you guys do have a lot of South Florida guys with, you know, DeMarcus Van Dyke, Travaris Robinson. So I just wanted to get a better understanding of your role within the recruiting of the program.
Yeah, I'll answer that a couple different ways. So, you know, things are still being ironed out. I just got my cane card 2 days ago. So, you know, we still ironing some things out. I think another thing that gives us a competitive advantage is, you know, I finished high school in Orlando at Evans High School, which is an inner city school. So I know quite a few people in that area as well. So we get stronger in that area. It's not just a guy who knows it and has recruited it. Like, I'm from there. So a lot of the guys that we have on our board that are from the Central Florida area, I'm going to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, right? Somebody's auntie, uncle, sister, cousin, I know from somewhere, trust me. And so now you strengthen that in Liberty City, which is where I grew up. We don't, you know, like deep into Liberty City, and then you strengthen it inner city Orlando. So you kind of get best of both worlds. So I think that answers your question. But just as far as specific guys, I think we're kind of still sorting that out a little bit. And so I don't have any direct names for you now.
Cool. Coach, this is the last one. We've got Barry Jackson from the Miami Herald. Barry, go ahead.
Barry.
Hi, Coach. Good to see you. I was wondering if you're going to handle the weak side linebackers, and are you or Coach Patke handling strikers? Was just curious about that. And if you have 30 seconds, just thoughts on Sam Brooks, a guy you obviously saw in recruiting and now have on your team.
Thoughts on Sam Brooks? I'll answer that question first. You know, Sam's been in college for a couple of years now. I've just been around him for a few days. So no initial thoughts yet. You know, it's kind of hard to give thoughts on the guy I just saw for 2 days.
Sure.
But Sam's a great kid. You know, he I think is going to be with Patke a little bit more than me, so he can probably answer that question better. And as far as how we're going to divide that, you know, strikers is probably what I'm going to coach, and you know, that's going. I know you're familiar with our scheme, but that's our outside linebacker, and so that guy has got to be really athletic. He's got to be a jack of all trades, really. And I hope that answers your question, Barry.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Coach Ish, thanks for spending a few minutes with us today. Welcome to the U, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Let's do it, baby. Back in the 305.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Y'all be good.